everyone. My name is Nancy. I'm here at Madeira USA, and I'm also joined with Jeff, also from Madeira USA. We have another question brought to us from the embroidery industry. Jeff.
So the question today is, what's an embroidery best practice that deserves to be challenged? That's like a tough question because there's a lot of best practices. Like that kind of contradicts itself a little bit because best practice is typically the best way to do it.
Well, it is
Um,
in quotations, so.
yeah, I could throw air quotes in there.
But talk about challenging. I think this is a very challenging.
Yeah,
Do you
it's
have anything, Jeff?
I would think one of the best practices that I guess I could see deserves to be challenged, and I actually saw this in a forum on Facebook the other day. Is somebody was saying, "Hey, unpopular opinion. I run chrome needles because they're designed to break versus a titanium needle." And I found that really interesting because titanium needles share the same core as a chrome needle. A chrome needle is just it's got a chrome covering on it. A titanium needle has a titanium nitride coating on the outside, and the titanium nitride coating just makes the needle last longer. And when it does break, it breaks differently. It's not like I'm putting a titanium rod in my machine and it'll never break, and that it's going to transfer the problem somewhere else. The difference I've seen is a chrome needle, if it hits the needle plate or something, it'll turn into a fish hook. I think it's the best way I can describe it. Like it just kind of and you got a little U shape of a needle, right?
Yeah, if
But
you're lucky and the tip doesn't break off.
right, and but like a titanium needle just kind of shatters.
Right.
And you're left finding the pieces, which it's very important to find all the pieces because they do end up in the rotary hook.
Yeah, and they could
Um,
really damage it. I've done it.
Yep, and I mean rotary hooks aren't too expensive. I think they're like 60 something
30s.
bucks, or
Yeah.
they're not like crazy, but then you have to
But
retime the
easy to
machine, and
install.
yep.
Yeah.
So I think
Maybe for you, Jeff, not for me.
yeah, I mean it's still like it's a thing, right? Like it's
Yeah.
just a lot more work than necessary. But I think one of the things that really stands out to me when I talk to people that they're like, we run chrome only or we run titanium only, is I think the chrome needles and the titanium needles, they really have their place back and forth. So a titanium needle, you get like 40 hours of runtime on it before the eye of the needle actually starts to wear out. The point might wear a little bit sooner, but a lot of times it turns it from a sharp to a little bit of a ballpoint.
Yeah.
But a chrome needle is about 8 hours. So by going with titanium needles, it's a little bit more in the cost, and by a little bit, I mean a few pennies more. It's not a significant cost increase, but you do get a lot more runtime on it. And I think if I'm going to stay on the course of I'm going to just harp needles here, there's a lot of people that don't change their needles until they have a problem, and not necessarily when the life of the needle ends. I think that's what I'm gonna shoot with is I'm gonna go needle related
Mhm.
um in my best practices. That I think that choosing the appropriate needle for the job, sharp, ballpoint, titaniums. I prefer to run titaniums, especially when I'm doing puff. I do feel, I don't necessarily think they are, but I do feel that they deflect a little bit less. They're just a little bit less flexible. Um, and I prefer to run titaniums for the most of the stuff. But changing your needle every 40 hours, keeping track of the runtime will help with your uptime. And I know some of the big shops out there, they change their needles every day, regardless of whether they use them or not. And it's a downtime thing. They don't want their operators chasing needles every day when they can just switch them out and
Right.
go along. What do you
Right.
think, Nancy? What's your thought process
Well,
on it?
I also wanted to point out that going along with the needles, a couple of things I want to throw in there is we do have a needle tracker as well. There's probably some things in the machine, like memory and things like that, that you could utilize as well. But when you change out a needle, maybe it's for 6 to 8 and you go with a smaller needle. or you're just changing them and you're keeping track of it. So we have a needle tracker for that. And also I wanted to add on to your titanium tantrum. Um,
There you go. I'll call it that. That's a good name for it.
um, that they are also titanium heats up less than chrome, so it's a metal that doesn't heat up as quick. So if you're embroidering really fast, or you're embroidering on,
I'll throw it out there, like poly twill with an adhesive backing on
there
it, or
you go,
anything with an adhesive.
or any adhesive or any vinyl or things like that. So it's also good for that, because they do shatter, like you said. Hats is probably the biggest best practice where they say you need to have a sharp and you need to have this and that. You can use chrome, you can use titanium on hats, but it's really more about the hooping when it comes to hats. So I
Yep.
think the titanium is a fairly new needle in the industry. Some of your machine companies are coming out with them already on them. So I think that has a lot to say about them. They have I don't think they're going anywhere, and I think that, like Jeff said, they last quite a bit longer than a chrome.
So one thing I'm going to throw in here, and this is just for a knowledge thing to share out there. There's a third type of needle. So we've got titanium, we've got chrome, and there's a third type. You know what that is off the top of your head?
I think I do. It's either called cool sew, or it's not Teflon, but the PFD, whatever. So it's a non-stick. So that one doesn't heat up as much. Is that the one you're talking about?
That's the one I'm talking about. So if you're really doing sticky stuff, and I like to call it salt. What you see on top of the embroidery, it looks like salt. If you're sewing on sticky stuff and you're getting that
Oh, I
top
got
of the
you. Yes.
embroidery, it's the adhesive that's pulling up with the needle and it's cooling and dropping off the needle. It also binds on the needle, and you're going to have problems with the thread running through the groove, and false thread breaks and tension and stuff like that. So you have to clean your needles when you're doing the adhesive. But those cool sew
Clean it off with your
really help with that.
like glue.
Yep.
Yeah, those are really good. Titanium will only get you so far as keeping it cool, but the
Yep.
sew needles are coated with a Teflon-like material, so
Yep.
it doesn't stick. Just like your eggs don't stick to the pan, the glue doesn't stick to the needle.
Right.
Yeah, I think that was great, Jeff. I don't think I have anything else to add. Like, I don't have another best practice.
Okay.
But
I
we
mean, that's cool. We can
covered
end with
needles really well in there.
I think we can cover my titanium tantrum. I'm gonna have to get a sticker or something made. I really like that. But with that, everybody, if you do have any questions that you'd like to see us answer, drop those in the comments, and we'd be happy to. Thank you for hanging out with us.
Thank you, guys.